So you guys can see me in there, right?
Yep.
So I'm orange, red, and yellow. That means I'm the warmest thing inside the screen. Everything around me should be somewhat blue or black, right? Including even maybe some things on me. My shirt maybe might be cooler. But really what we're looking for here are the blue and black spots to move on their own, because this is set up to the black cold, white hot. So yellow is going to be the next closest thing to white. So it's like a white, yellow, orange, red, and then it changes to shades of blue. Okay. So again, really what we're looking for here are black and blue things to start moving on their own or where they should not be. So for example, on my face, if there's a big blue blob right here, obviously we know that's my skin. That's 90 plus degrees. So it should not have any kind of blue anything. It will fluctuate based on what's inside the screen. So if we take me out, that red, orange, and yellow is going to fluctuate somewhere else because it needs a base temperature. So, so really what you're trying to do is trying to keep somebody in view most of the time. It's a little difficult to do with 3 people. So really when you're filming, you're going to try to keep me or Stacy in the picture. I got that right, correct? Yep. Awesome. Look at me go. All right, so it's already recording. Do you see the red square on there?
I do.
That means it's recording. That is a normal cell phone, so if you squeeze it in any way, shape, or form, it will shut it off or change volume or whatever. Okay. But you may even shut it off by accident. Watch, we got another couple trying to pass by.
Oh, sorry.
Are you good? Hi, guys. Careful, don't fall in the water.
That's a good job, kid.
But if the red square turns to a circle because you tapped it by accident or something goes awry, just let me know. That just means I have to splice some video together for you.
Okay.
So not a big deal. We did not cover COVID crap, so let me cover that real quick before we get you your next device. Masks, completely up to you. I would say probably 50% of the time I won't have one on unless I have to get very close to you based on your device. But we're going to be kind of hanging out together anyway. In the more popular areas, you'll see me mask up. Again, up to your disclosure. I'm not one of those COVID fearful people. If you are, I understand that things happen. So again, completely up to you. All of your devices that we're using have been disinfected. So that was one thing that I did do when I got down here, was I disinfected everything over again, even though I didn't tour last night, just to make sure. Okay. And I do have extra masks in case you guys want them, and hand sanitizer in case you guys are, want to play in the mud. So that's up to you.
We should be good. I think we got masks.
So again, I'm not one of those fearful people. It's just one of those tourism and livability officers are out. They're not giving tickets anymore, but they might give like a, hey, get your mask up kind of thing for me. Not necessarily for you, but who knows? For the 3 of us, we could just all be friends out here ghost hunting, but they're probably going to look at me with a bag.
Right.
To see that I'm a tour guide. All right, so, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No problem.
Back to the cool stuff. You guys are on vacation. We're going to be talking about COVID, right?
It's a daily minute,
yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, my family's from Ohio, so like my sister, my mom, like they're all telling me all the updates up there, and they're like, "How you doing down there?" I'm like, "It's like nothing's even going on down here."
Right,
Michigan's bad.
Michigan's bad. Like in our hometown, and it's just bad. And
it's kind of one of the reasons why my husband's brought me down here for right now is because I don't have an immune system, barely. So I haven't been able to.
But she has multiple things, so she can't get. She hasn't gotten out for a year. We haven't let her too much.
And the numbers down here, hardly anything.
Right, which is weird, as transient as we are. And my wife's disabled, but we've been out every day in the field. Even when I wasn't allowed to tour, I just drove Uber for 40 hours a week. I was making $35 an hour. Why the hell wouldn't I? I got to eat too. I got an angry ex-wife that needs paid, so we won't get into that mess. All right, so your secondary device, this is going to be another spirit box, but it's literally going to give us a word from time to time in the center of the screen where those 3 dots are. Then it's going to save them to a list. So you guys are going to get the full list back. Like there were 76 terms, which is actually a little bit high for a 90-minute to 2-hour tour. We're going to clear them out because they already have theirs, and we're going to start you guys off fresh. Sorry, it's upside down. Why is it not agreeing with me today? There we go. We got the word every. Oh, excuse me. So here's what I'm going to tell you about the list. 80% of this is BS. It's meant to be a game. So it's even worse than the 50-50 that you have there. The cool thing is when you guys get the full list back and I see something that's relevant to the place of where we are, or a person I'm talking about, or something even going on with one of us, I would definitely highlight it in bold, like I would bold it, and then I'll give you the explanation why, more than likely with the link of where I got my information. So, for example, 50 yards, for example, is obviously a very specific term. So if it says 50, it says Anthony. So if there's an Anthony on the team and I get his jersey number, you're going to see I'm going to get excited. So that's where I get really stoked. I don't normally go off of, okay, there might be an Anthony on the team. I want a jersey number, I want a last name, I want his state where he came from, something. that proves like he played with Big John, which I'm going to give you that story here in just a second. But from time to time, I'll ask you, hey, where's our list? You just hit the little calendar on the side, because, I mean, you're going to want to interrupt me every time you get a new word, but...
like, yeah!
Yeah, exactly. I did something else. So, last but not least, I'll show you the device that I'm going to be playing with. This is something new we just added. I shouldn't say we, me. This is a millimeter, so it does 3 different functions. So it's kind of a collect-all, and we're still learning about it between my wife and I and my daughter who gets involved. But the first thing it does is it measures ambient temperature. So right now it's telling me that it's about 74.3 degrees out here based on the yellow probe that's up right here. But it was also very close to my body, so I should expect to see it drop a little bit, probably by about 2 to 3 degrees. The top is an EMF meter, so it's one of those little lighty thingies you see on TV, and Zach Bagans puts it on a table and says, get close to the electromagnetic field meter, because he doesn't know how to talk to ghosts and they don't know what an EMF meter is. Yeah, exactly. So anything above 0.4, I'm going to get a little excited about. If it starts skyrocketing towards the hundreds, I'm going to be super stoked. It's probably because of the vape in my pocket. Again, 80%. So, last but not least, it has a REM pod built into it. So the antenna that you see me pull out, there's actually a separate EMF field being generated around the antenna. So if something breaks it, it's going to go off. So it has to be pretty still. There's no, like, if I shake it around and all this mess, it should go off a little bit, but I will literally use this as a communication device as well, and saying, hey, if somebody's actually here, make it go to purple. So they're going to go a little bit closer till they get to purple. So again, it's going to give us different noises and different lights. Is it annoying on your audio? Absolutely. Do I use it all the time? No. Certain areas, I'm going to see what it's going to do. Right. So you'll see me kind of play with it from time to time.
The red?
Nice. That kind of maybe goes along with the story I'm about to tell you.
Okay.
So it's a stretch. I look for very big specifics. So no offense, you're going to get one device. That's probably the most expensive piece I have in the bag. So I'm going to make sure the focus is there and not trying to fumble 12 things. Right. So not to say that your stuff isn't pricey too. Come on.
No, I was just playing with you. The next one's going to be Casper.
Right? Which is funny because I almost wore my Casper shirt today. I have all kinds of weird ghost shirts on top of my Stories in the Cemetery shirts. But anyway. And this is interactive, so if I start talking too much, too fast, you guys got to shut me up. So you guys got to jump involved too. So this place that we're standing at, we started here for a reason. Of course it's haunted. It used to be called Big John's, like I mentioned before. Big John was a football player for the 1947 New York Giants. So he used to sit in the back of the bar, and he would tell the bartender if the cadets that were coming over from the Citadel, which is about a mile up that way, maybe a mile and a half, if they were of age to drink or not, because he didn't want them in his bar if they weren't old enough. So one night, 2 guys come in, they're not old enough. John says, get them out of here. So you guys are making me talk too much already. So they leave, pretty mad. They come back the next night, they try to steal the cash register from the front of the bar. John sees what's going on. They get into a little rough and tumble, a little bar fight, and a couple of shots go off. John gets hit in the neck with the bullet, and the bullet ricochets and goes into the wall. So John gets up, goes back to the bar, he tells the bartender, get me another beer, and go get them an ambulance. Now, first off, nobody died in that story, and John was the one that got shot.
Until musical?
Does it say musical?
It said until, and then it switched to musical.
Interesting.
Really fast.
Yeah, and it'll do quick things like that too.
Okay.
So, again, I've been using that for probably 5 or 6 years now, so I kind of know when I see something like I don't normally see, like musical is weird. Like I don't normally see that term very often. And that thing actually has a vocabulary of 9,000 terms. So again, when something comes up and I'm like, yes, I've never seen that before. That's really cool. But anyway, so what do you guys think is haunting this place since nobody died in the story that I told you? And John was the one that got shot.
Well, they might all be dead at this point, even if they didn't die that night. I don't know.
He is dead now. I'll tell you that. The bullet hole, it's allegedly still here. So they are renovating the place, turning into yet another bar since they closed down Big John's in 2015. But people that sit in the front of the bar tend to get a little queasy, a little headache, nauseous, just minor symptoms. I bring the story up on purpose because I don't know how paranormal activity is going to affect you. If you guys start to feel any of those things, even the slightest headache, I kind of need to know. Like, it's a big deal. I'm not going to say people haven't passed out from too much activity on my tours, but I don't want any more passing out to happen on my tours. So, so let's talk about something a little happier. Let's talk about earthquakes. Those are happy, right? So the mantle that's above your head, we had a big earthquake here in 1886. Your carriage ride person should have told you that. Did you? You said that carriage ride was like 5 years ago, right?
We did it today too.
Oh, okay.
Okay, the 5 years ago, that guy just did. He did like the scripted one where he talked about all that stuff.
Yeah.
The guy today just freelance. I mean, he was really actually better because he was telling real stories about just, hey, this person was in this show. This person's a bitch.
Just talking about a bar fight.
Nosebleed. Sorry.
So
Nosebleed seats too. So it could also be talking about football.
Oh.
yeah.
So you got me. Think outside the box.
So we did hear about the earthquake stuff, but that was the 5 year ago one. Tonight,
Okay.
today,
And even like your guy that like you had today that seemed like he was non-scripted, he was scripted. So like they all are. Like even the stories I'm telling you tonight, even though it sounds like a conversation, it's still like I have them memorized.
Right.
You know what I mean? You tell them night after night after night.
Right.
There's no way you can get away from the memorization of it.
Right.
But anyway, back to my story. The earthquake that we had in 1886, this is allegedly where the first death occurred. So a piece of the mantle that's above your heads also wraps around the front of the building. A piece of that from the front broke off, struck somebody in the head, and allegedly killed them. And I say all this allegedly because I don't have any proof. One of the gimmicks I have with my particular tour is honesty. I will
Nearby.
Nearby?
Nearby.
Thereby. That's an old term you don't hear.
Wicked.
That's a term we always hear. But I will never make stuff up for you guys. If something's a stretch or it's, something's going off because of something else, a man-made object, I will always clue you in on what's happening. So, you guys ready to go ghost hunting? You guys tired of hearing me talk yet?
we're good. We're good. We're good.
All right, let's get out of the puddle.
Ready, wife?
Glad nobody fell in.
That was a bonus.
Whoa, you almost walked into that for you.
I did not.
You guys said you were married, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Just want to know what my dynamic is. I don't like to assume anything. You know what the funniest thing is? Because I get a lot of aunts and uncles to take their nieces and nephews on vacation.
Right.
And I'm like, so you gotta hang out with Dad, and he's like, he's my uncle. Damn it. Wow, that's weird. Wash her out. Alright, so again, here's one of your first locations where it was a once were. This is perfect weather, by the way.
It is
I am
fantastic.
super comfortable with this. So this is what I call the Big Red Barn Lot. Not to mention it's Sunday night, and we'll probably have the whole city to ourselves. We'll be, I don't want to say unfortunate to see another tour, but we probably won't see another tour tonight. It'll probably just be us. The Big Red Barn is where we keep the horses for the carriage rides. So the horses are still inside, so we don't want to spook them with the red spirit box that you have by keeping it too loud. So this is one of those areas where I'll say let's just kind of keep it audible to us, just so you can get used to listening to it. The only history I have of this place is that this is the same barn that held horses that delivered milk to Charleston. Whenever I'm telling you stories about like any of the locations, starting with Big John, I'll emphasize keywords. 1947 New York Giants. You guys heard me say that a different way. Over here, it's always they delivered milk to Charleston. So every time we go to a new location, it's always clues. This isn't a long history. This is just a practice area. So this is your novice level. Okay. So spirit boxes, this isn't TV, or is somebody here, because first off, if they say no, that means somebody's here. So we're going to go with that mentality. But if you heard a real estate commercial come through and it said the word houses, you think you heard yes, just because that's the way our brains work. Yes and no questions are too easily mistaken for something else. So we're just going to stay away from those all night long.
Okay.
So we're going to start off with something simple. We can all agree that the barn is red, correct? Nobody here is colorblind. I'm not offending. I've done it, so that's the reason why I asked. That guy gave me a hard time all night. He was jokingly doing it, but he gave me a hard time. He's like, I think it's blue. I'm like, dude, you're killing me. But anyway, so we're going to ask simple questions like, if somebody's here, tell me what color the barn is. And then we're going to wait for the color red. If we don't hear the color red, it could also be something that is specifically red. Blood, heart, fire truck. These are all things that are specifically red when I put that picture in your brain. So
Sodium.
I've had that here before. So the question is, because I had to dive into this, they also, the horses that were here used to deliver eggs as well. So my question was, did they also deliver salt? Because I've had protein, calcium, and sodium show up here multiple times. So it's a good possibility. I don't think I found anything that said that they delivered salt, but I'm not going to rule it out either. So again, it's a stretch, but it's common at this point, because now this is the second time at least the second time I've seen it.
That's cool.
That I can remember.
Contemporary.
It would be contemporary now. But again, pretty vague. So in the event we don't hear any of those things after a couple of tries, we're going to try something new, like what's inside the barn. This is where we got to start putting those clues together. First off, we already know there's horses in there, but horses are animals. Their breed is draft horses. They delivered milk and protein and eggs. San Diego?
Santiago.
Oh.
It was a horse's name.
Well, it could have also been a stable boy.
Yeah.
But I can't prove that, unfortunately. So with that being said, this is where we kind of have to put those clues together. Anything relating to a horse is obviously going to be relevant. Anything relating to a double-digit number, I'm going to look at it as a jersey number and see if there's an actual tie there. Because if you get, for example, the number 44, and then that says Art Faircloth was number 44 on Big John's team in 1947. I know that because it's come up before. So I've had to dive into it. I'm not a football guy, in case you guys can't tell. I'm a very big book nerd. So, but yeah, this is where we're really going to start diving into the spirit boxes and learning the different types, because you can use them together. Thermal imaging. We already talked about keeping a person in view. At our next location, I'm going to show you a little bit of evidence so you have a little bit better gist of what you're looking for. In this particular lot, we have brick, wood, asphalt, metal, foliage. I just want you to kind of get the gist of how those temperatures fluctuate, so you know what you're going to be looking at for the next 90 minutes or so. But at that next location, I'll definitely show you solidified evidence. I would definitely call it like a Class A. This was an apparition that showed up on the thermal imaging camera. So that way you kind of have a gist of what it is.
Okay.
So let's get that red spirit box turned up. Let's kind of take a little tour of the lot real quick. Again, this is a 5-minute novice area, just so you guys get used to listening to it. So volume at the top. Little wheel. Yep.
All right.
There you go.
Like an old style radio dial.
Yep.
But not too loud.
Yeah. You can probably go a little higher. They got some fans going on in there for them. I am going to turn on the REM pod just because I do get, oh look at that, I went up to 2.8 and then back down to 0.
Reporter.
Probably look like reporters. I also, with certain areas, especially like our next location is going to be mid-colonial folks that we're going to be trying to talk to. These are just black boxes with different colored lights. So black box with the red light, black box with blue light, you know, so forth and so on. This is a black box with a metal stick. Like, I don't use specific terms. So, what do you want to know that's here? You're the one asking questions. This is your interactive experience, not mine. I've done this.
I don't know. You go. You
What do you want to know? It doesn't matter. You don't have to talk into the box or anything like that.
Just, I don't know.
All right,
How many horses are in that barn?
Can't prove that.
And that's true. But if they got a number, that'd be pretty
Yeah,
crazy.
it would be pretty crazy. I don't have any EMF reading here at all. So I am going to move just until I see something.
You're red and blue.
Portrait.
Portrait? I don't know what to...
That's a good question we can ask.
I don't know, because he's got to be able to prove it.
Portrait wishing.
What?
No, it says wishing.
Portrait wishing?
Triumph. Portrait wishing triumph.
Okay. I only had one little spike over there. That was about it.
I wonder if one of the horses was a racehorse or something.
No, my wife, they're not racehorses. But of course, we're trying to talk to people that were
I mean,
here a long time ago with,
Right.
Maybe it's somebody talking about the horse.
Yeah, we're also talking, think about the time period that horses did deliver milk, 1860s to 1920s. So, I mean, it's not ancient history for us, but it is well over, 140 years ago? Not that there weren't racehorses here, because there were, actually, nearby. There was a plat of land, probably about half a mile going that way towards Calhoun Street, and it was owned by one person from the coast all the way to about mid-peninsula, and he used to use it for racing and parties, and it was basically, they called it, the sports entertainment. It was almost like a triathlon type thing.
See, maybe one of their spirits was scared.
Could be. Just heard some Aerosmith.
Yeah. I'm gonna go closer to the barn.
We've got a little bit going on with that one, and it's not down to 0.
Anyone talking to you?
Nobody's talking to me now.
Any new words?
Huh?
You get any new words?
No, but still stuck on Triumph.
Have you heard anything out of the radio?
What's that?
Have you heard anything out of the radio? Again, that's not the easiest job. That's why I've been handing, when I have the smaller groups, you get 2 spirit boxes, because it's much easier to read than it is to listen. So, again, that's why we record it. I'm getting a little bit of a spike here. Of course, now it wants to go away.
Paper again.
Normally when something shows up twice, it has some kind of relevance. And our full moon isn't until tomorrow night, by the way. You're at 98% today. Oh. It just went up to like 7 from 0. And back down again. Come on. Let's try the rim. See what I'm about to do, don't you? So I got somebody here. Just get close to that stick. Just get close to it. There's something there.
Mentor.
This thing is all over the place now. Alright, so we have the basic gist. they're not really giving me, like, I would have seen something come out of that already. Come on. Let's go learn some real history. What do you think?
Let's do it.
Let's go this way. Normally, Fridays and Saturdays, when it's all crazy down here, that's usually the only time I don't get much out of that lot. 'Cause
Right.
It's, you know,
It's busy.
yep. And everybody wants to go on a ghost tour Friday and Saturday night. It's usually my busiest nights. I'm like, you guys understand, it's better during the week.
Well, yeah, just coming down here to park, it was just amazing the difference from, you know, a night or two ago.
Yeah.
You good, wife?
Spot. By the way, if either one of you are picture takers and you need me to hold something, I will point out certain things throughout the night that are a little bit more touristy. That moon shot is very touristy. So if you guys
It
want
is really pretty.
It is. That's great social media stuff. But I have enough pictures of the moon for social media.
Yeah.
So, yeah, let's go ahead and cut your spirit box down. Sorry, that's a southern term. Have you guys cut onto that? Like, caught on to cut it off instead of turn it off?
Haven't really noticed it, no.
Yeah. Like, when I first moved here from Ohio, and everyone said, I cut the engine, or cut the light. Like, the hell are you talking about? Like, just some of the slang. I mean, I've been down here almost a decade now. You just pick up on certain things. But anyway, so welcome to another beautiful site. I love parking lots. They're my best friend. So, so he's going to be coming towards our door. So this place used to be the home of Charles and Eliza Pinckney. So who the hell were they? They had a son named Charles. They had a nephew named Charles. The nephew and the son were the signers of our Constitution for South Carolina. Pretty big deal for us, but who the hell wants to talk about politics on vacation? Not me. I'm not even on vacation. Not yet. So this place is very odd. If I were to have a grand finale, this would be it. I know it's the weirdest place because it's definitely the most empty. So Eliza was way cooler, so we're going to talk about her. She actually got married to Charles at a young age. And by the way, I'm not going to be telling you what color is George Washington's white horse kind of questions. You're going to get answers from your spirit box. We may even separate just so you're a little bit more comfortable with asking those type of questions. And it's obviously a very small lot so we can see each other. I'm not going to run off and say, okay, have a good night. And I'm like, no, you got $500 worth of gear. But anyway, but this is, you're going to get those answers from Eliza herself, hopefully, fingers crossed. So Eliza married Charles at a young age. You can ask how old she was, but let's finish the story first. Because her father thought he was dying. Let's move out of that car's way. This is the only way in and out. We don't want to make any ghosts. So we don't create ghosts in stores and people get really, really mad about that, just so you know.
If I shoot him?
What's that?
If I shoot him for ghosts?
Yeah.
They're probably thinking you're videoing them.
Right, exactly.
Well, everyone's videoing when you're out in public.
I wouldn't do that either.
So, where was I? So, Dad thought he was dying. He went all his kids home, and she didn't want to go. So she got married to Charles, saying, I'm staying here. Now, we're talking mid-colonial times, like 1740s. So, it didn't give her citizenship because there was no such thing yet. So it just said, Dad, screw you, I'm not coming home. So Dad got better, Eliza was right, and he starts sending over wedding gifts. One of those gifts happened to be the plant indigo. So the layout of the land that you're sitting on was the mansion was in the front. Eliza's garden started at that left tree over there and came all the way across to where we're standing now. And then the slave and servant quarters were in the back. So again, she started experimenting with the plant indigo. She experimented with a lot of things, but indigo is probably the most prominent because it was already here from our Gullah culture. Those are the slaves that came over straight from Africa. So she had to learn from them how to keep it cultivated in our weird temperatures. It was cold out here 2 nights ago. I had a jacket and hot hands on. So that just tells you how stupid our weather is. So they taught her. She did well. She moved it over to Snee Farm in Mount Pleasant, called Dad up and said, I need some contacts. I got this really expensive indigo plant that I need to start selling. Boom. We have a businesswoman in mid-colonial times. Now, indigo is a plant that makes blue that it makes her blue jeans blue. We do have it on right now. It's exactly how we use it today. The cool thing is it started at its height right here, even though it was already present with the slave culture. Produce. Either way you want to look at it. So Eliza did a ton of things for our country, but let's talk about some of the weird stuff and weird facts about her. So first off, she was the second wife named Eliza from Charles, back to back. So
nice.
How do you screw that one up?
He ended up marrying the third Eliza?
No, she was the second.
Okay. I read something else about... No, okay, I'm just getting confused.
Yes, just, yeah.
Yeah, there was...
There's only so many Elizas.
Yeah, I know, right? There's a lot of Elizas during this time period. So they both go by their maiden name. So it's Eliza blank Pinckney. So that way they can each be, have their identity. They both start with the letter L. That's the only thing I'm going to tell you. Hopefully you can find out what her maiden name was. Because both maiden names have shown up here several times.
Huh.
Yeah, really cool stuff.
Altar.
What's it say?
Altar?
At the altar? Stretchy. I'm waiting for specifics. We're sitting here talking about our marriage, which I was about to go into. You can obviously ask when she got married, but you can also ask when she got widowed. So that's a good number too, because it's not something, it's very specific, right? You can ask anything you want to about her death. So how old was she? I know I'm giving you a lot of numbers, but these are specific details. What did she die from? How old was she? Sorry, that's probably me. People probably, hey, do you have room on your tour? I get it all the time, right in the middle of a tour. Like, nope, sorry, have a good night. Where did she die? What did she die from? And which U.S. president was a pallbearer at her funeral? A lot of people go straight to that question so they can get that one done and out of the way. Because if they have a definitive answer there, that's concrete evidence for somebody that's a non-believer. But yeah, that's pretty cool stuff. That a president carried her to her grave. That doesn't tell you how important she was. I don't know what's going to.
Wow.
You can ask what happened to the mansion. It's obviously not here anymore. If you're going to poke around with the kids, try to stick to very basic stuff. How many boys, how many girls, how many total. Don't go into specifics about the kids. There was a tragedy there. All activity will stop. I've seen it dozens of times. You start poking around, she doesn't want to talk about it. So, and it also depends on which number she gives us and how many kids she had. Because sometimes it's one number versus another one. Because sometimes she just says, I had this many because I don't want to talk about the other one. It's kind of tragic. I did notice that the light is blinking tonight. So this EMF meter and that light, if you videotape it from the angle that I'm holding it here, you can actually see within 2 frames there's like a pulse here and then a pulse there. So I don't like using the word energy. I think that's too generic. Whatever's influencing all of our devices in here is also influencing that weak light. Notice the light to the left of that isn't doing anything. So it's the light on the right. Right. I have tested this, I don't know how many times, just to make sure like it's a legitimate thing. And it doesn't always blink. It's just kind of sometimes it's just on, and this thing's still doing this. Oh, she's telling me I'm a liar. Thanks, Eliza. But at any rate, well, sometimes this is still doing this guy, and that's just on, or it's just off. I never know what I'm going to get walking in here, but if I have a light, now look, it's going to go slow down. It was blinking pretty good earlier. It's usually my barometer. I got excited when we turned the corner going, yes, we're going to finally get some good stuff. Because it's been about a week out of here where I haven't really seen it blink. So, I would say go explore. I will stay out of your way so that way you guys can get comfortable with asking your spirit box questions. You're not disturbing anybody here. And I normally give that warning about the camera anyway, so don't think I was scolding you, please. He's like, just don't yell at me again, man.
Don't get us killed.
You're a jerk. People just get weird, and I've had people literally, because they park here every night, and they think we're filming. Now, granted, if I was a car thief, that would be my first tool, because then I know how long the cars have been here.
Right.
So, again, they do kind of have some argument, but they don't know what we're actually doing until they hear the out of your spirit box, and I'm like, oh shit, they're ghost hunting. And then I'm out here with my blinky lights, and they're like, oh, there's the other guy over there. But yeah, so, told you, I'm not your typical guy. So have some fun in here. We are going to spend about 10 minutes because I want to see what you're going to get out of that spirit box. Get used to listening of what's coming through. Ask questions together. I gave you some good examples. I'm not giving you the answers until before we leave, and hopefully she's going to give you some of them anyway. Some of them might be clues. So again,
so the house would have been up in this area?
The house would have been up in front. Garden right here. Servant and slave quarters back here. The problem with back there is I can't prove any of it because there's no records. Okay. So kind of take that for what it's worth. A lot of my African Americans that come on here, and even some of the Mexicans I get on my group, they want to go straight back there, and I'm like, I can't prove anything. You can ask what you want to.
And then it went to drink.
What was the first one?
Tie.
Tie, like a necktie.
Mm-hmm.
So lie, tie, drink. I think somebody's drunk.
Right.
Might be trying to say my tie.
Right.
Drink.
Is it you? Is it you, honey? Are you the one that's drunk?
Oh, Lord.
All right, go have some fun. I'm going to be testing these EMF fields over here, and
Just be careful on this, dear.
Yeah.
Okay. I can actually see.
Okay.
I'm good.
Don't follow
Are
me.
you wearing like the puppy kids? Like, are there dogs on your shoes?
There's cats on
Kitty
hers.
cats.
But yeah,
My wife has the dog version of that.
she loves
They're
them.
really comfortable.
So I told you my wife was disabled. She has CMT, so she basically has braces to walk. So it's very hard for her to find shoes that will actually go around the braces because she has drop foot. So she has that brace to keep her foot in place. But she doesn't wear them very often, but she had to have them when we were walking through Petco. We have 2 dachshunds, so they're our entire world because my kids are grown. So
Yeah, our kids are all gone.
I'm trying to talk him into letting me get a baby.
We have 2 grandkids that actually.
do you?
No, we were actually at a store the other day, and this was a little girl like this. All of a sudden, just like that, and I'm like, "What?" To her, and the lady's like, "She's looking at your shoes."
Yep.
I'm like, okay.
You got cartoons on your feet.
I was like, there's fish.
All right, let's find some. You go. You go this way. I go this way.
Hey, you're gonna help me.
I'm going. I'm helping you.
Together.
Yeah.
Stick together.
You're
Okay.
gonna help me ask questions.
Personal view anyway.
Oh, that's true.
Let's go to where her house would have been.
I'm gonna stay a little back so I can get farther around you.
Hi, Miss Liza. I'm Stacy, and this is Corey, my husband.
Hello.
So we just have a few questions for you. If you'll talk to us.
We'd like to know. We know that you got married, but we would like to know what was your maiden name before you were married. What was that? Did you just try saying something? No? I thought through the spirit box. Are you trying to talk through the spirit box, Eliza? No.
Eliza, how old were you when you got married?
Anything in the spirit box or no?
It kind of sounded like twice that there was something.
Right, I thought it
Did
came
you
through
hear too?
something.
What president was at your funeral?
Ask that again. Ask it again.
What president was at your funeral?
Something. You trying to talk, aren't you, Eliza? Through the spirit box. I think she is.
How old were you, Eliza, when you passed away?
Getting any words?
Eliza, where's your house at now? Influential.
She was rich.
You were influential. What did she die of? What did you die of, Eliza? How many children did you have?
Don't go farther than that.
Improved. Complete.
Eliza, you had a magnificent house. What happened to it? It's not. Your house isn't here anymore. What happened to it? Did something happen to your house? Is there a ghost walking behind me?
Eliza, what was your favorite flower?
Nothing.
Have you forgotten a question? Bathroom.
Like bathrooms.
Am I standing in your bathroom?
Did your dad sent you a plant when you got married, one of your gifts, and it turned into quite an industry for you and made you very wealthy, a businesswoman. What was it that he sent you? What is it used for?
Let's go to a different area.
Okay.
Liza, we're in your garden now. Is this one of your favorite places?
Could you try to touch someplace on my wife, Stacy? Try to touch her if you
No.
can. No.
Where am I standing now, Eliza?
Anything happen?
There was a couple earlier. We thought in this jumped a couple times, but
Yeah,
it's
there
hard
was something that it sounded like something happened twice.
But it's hard to tell
Yeah,
it.
it is hard to tell when you're out in the field unless it's in a close space. Like I said, it's not the easiest job in the world. Need energy, it said. Did you hear that?
You need energy, Eliza?
That's what it said.
You
I think I
see-
killed the battery. But this one needed a screwdriver.
Eliza, how many kids did you have?
I know. You might want to get out of the way. So, my mother-in-law sells Tupperware and he sends me all these weird little doodads. And I'm like, this is like the only thing I need ever. It has every type of screwdriver and a light for me to see it.
That's pretty cool.
It is. I love it.
Eliza, where am I standing now?
Oh, that's a good question.
Well, I wasn't her. Maybe.
Well, no plumbing.
Maybe she had a room where she
Outhouse.
Well, what an house,
Oh.
a chamber pot, or whatever,
I will tell you, last week I got the words "no bath" in one phrase. It said "no bath" across the screen. So I was like, huh, was there actually plumbing then?
Why don't you try to ask a question again?
What else did you ask?
You asked.
You asked what her father sent her after she got married.
Okay.
What president was at her funeral?
Yeah.
How many kids did she have? We asked her what
When
she passed
when we-
away from.
And I think it was when we asked the maiden name is when I thought the spirit it came through something on that. Maybe something happened, but we couldn't tell what it was.
Definitely, this is a focus point for me on every tour. You know, I always listen to this data while we're here because there's always so much that comes through, and I give you a million different types of questions. So not just numbers, but names. What happened to the mansion?
We asked that.
You know what I mean? It's things like that. So I'm always looking at trying to keep track of which battery goes where.
What year were you married in, Eliza? How old were you when you became a mother? Might be treading
You guys
lightly
got
there.
good questions.
Well, if you really just try, I mean, once you're trying to think of things you can actually find out. You know what I mean?
Proof. A lot of times the kids, and I say kids, like people under 25, like they start asking, how did you feel about your husband? How was your marriage? Like, I can't prove that the chick was happy or sad.
Right.
Like, are you kidding?
Eliza, did you have an education?
That's a yes or no, but I like the question. Again, 1740s, 1750s, what do you think? We're talking about a female.
Right.
Yeah.
Probably would have, her only education would have been in her own household, and she.
It was things that she learned on her own.
Right, and if she was blessed enough to have people that helped her do things that probably most women weren't allowed to do.
Eliza, what do you like to do for fun?
It's
Maybe
not,
she
Nick,
paints.
I'm waiting for that to come up.
it just turned into Tinder, huh, honey?
Maybe she paints or something. I don't know.
You're like,
Plants. That was her fun time.
Oh,
Yeah, she loved
Guess
garden.
would've had to have gotten into that.
So part of the reason why she was so into botany was because her father, like her family was here, you know, but they left her behind to run one of the farms. So the farm was something that her father owned, and even though he was from England, she ran it. She was 15 years old when that started. They had left it to her in the will.
Compete.
I don't know if there's any competition, unless we're talking about your racehorses again.
Eliza, were you born in America, the New World, or were you born in England?
Neither.
Well, there we go.
Interesting if the answer actually comes up, because I've never seen that answer come through. You just had something come through. Can I tap the dance? Influential for sure.
I told her, I said, yes, you were.
Yeah, we were over there. We were asking her about her house. We actually that came about when we were asking about her house.
Costume again. Or was it costume last? It was
The last,
costume.
yeah, the costume just showed up. This thing needs 2 batteries. Oh my god, does it need 2 batteries? Good thing the wife works for Best Buy as a day job.
What else can we ask?
It is that sometimes the trickiest part is to ask things that are relevant to her. I mean, you know, you can't ask things about how she lives.
Suspend. Program. Did you win any other awards? She had to have been won something for her
Business stuff.
plants. I don't know.
Pipe fire.
I'm also listening to the spirit box as we're all sitting here talking, because that's just what my ear does. So, and I've heard a couple little things, but nothing where I'm like, oh, I said this. You know, could be vaguely relevant until I put my earphones on tomorrow morning. I won't know.
How many, out of your children, how many little boys did you have? How many little girls did you have? Partially.
Save that girl. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was.
Right after you asked the girl, then it said partially, and then it said safe.
Save that girl.
That was a little wild.
Hmm.
But he said don't ask
I
too
know.
much.
Positive.
Just tell me to stay positive.
Did you like your husband? I have to know.
Even if we can't
Was
prove
he
it.
mean? Was he nice? A nice man? What was your dad's middle name? What month did you die?
said he was powerful. Well, that relates to the damn ponies over there. It says carrier. But that said, thought he was powerful. How did you feel about your husband?
That's powerful.
He's also a politician.
What if she's happy?
I will tell you, she's written several times that he was the love of her life.
Oh, good. That makes me feel better. I'm glad that you had a good husband.
Cool.
Alright, you guys ready for some answers?
Yeah.
Sure.
Shut this guy down. I'm getting little spikes over here, but nothing that's like, oh my god, it went up to 20. I'm getting like 2s to 4s, which is excitable, but not too excitable. Alright, so let's start off with Eliza was 22 when she got married to Charles. He was 45. So there's a 23-year age gap between them. So sometimes I'll get 22, sometimes I get 23, or 45. It depends on who I'm talking to. I'm saying, hey Eliza, how old were you when you got married? And 45 comes through. Okay, Charles, welcome aboard. Good to see you. You know what I mean? Like, that's just how we have to go with this. But she had 4 kids, 3 boys, 1 girl. And I did hear the number 1 shortly after Save That Girl. It became in a phrase, but it was still the number 1. But it could also refer to something else depending on what we get out of it. I'll explain in a sec. Eliza was 70 when she died. Oh, by the way, she was 36 when she became a widow. So not long after.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right.
So 14 years.
And she probably, I mean, at that age, 70 would have been a good long life at that age, wouldn't it have been at that time period, I would imagine.
Yeah, so she died in 1793 from breast cancer that we know of. Again, no such thing as cancer yet. Medical records all point to cancer. But she was in Philadelphia, which is where she died, where she's buried, and that's where George Washington carried her to her grave. So George Washington was your president that you were looking for. So Washington can sometimes be a lot or a mouthful to get out, especially with the 2 types of spirit boxes we have here. So sometimes we'll get clues to Washington. We'll get the word apple. We'll get the word one first. Wood is a big one too because you have wooden teeth. I get that a lot over here. So again, very simple terms, 1 to 2 syllables. But have I had Washington? Yes, I didn't even know that until I got that EVP twice. And then
Wow.
I think it was about 2 weeks ago on the Red Spirit box, I heard the phrase Denzel Washington come through. First off, why the hell are we talking about Denzel? He hasn't had a movie out in how long?
That's right.
Second, it's that part of the phrase that I needed, which was Washington. Which president took you to your grave? Denzel Washington. So Washington was the president. Let's see what else. So again, 3 boys, 1 daughter, Charles, Thomas, George, and Harriet. George is the one that passed away as an infant. That's the one she doesn't like to talk about. But she also named that George after her father, George. And his name, ironically enough, was George Lucas. So Eliza's maiden name was Lucas. The insignificant first wife, her maiden name was Lamb, as in the L-A-M-B, animal lamb. So we have Lamb and Lucas. So, and you still have stuff coming through.
Master.
Standing in the slave
We're in the
course.
slave course right now.
Yep. And I'm talking about her. So, but again, she treated her slaves pretty well from what I understand. So it wasn't a slave whipping kind of roots kind of stuff that we all think of when we think of slaves. Like, this was a respect. She obviously learned from them. What are the questions? Oh, the mansion burned down in 1861. Remember, Eliza died in 1793. So that would have been almost 70 years after her death. So the house was still within the family, and it was just in the middle of one of the great fires. When we say great fires here in Charleston, we've had dozens. It's always the great fire of whatever year it happened. So this was 1861. It started at this coast and went to the other peninsula coast. The house just happened to be in the way. Unfortunately, the only pictures we have of the gorgeous Pinckney home was after the fire. So it was kind of cool that you guys went up towards where that Jeep is now, because that's where it occurred. I went over to where the stable, like where their, not their stable, but almost like their carriage house.
Right.
So I usually go up there because I'll get some kind of activity out of it, but I didn't get anything. But I also get really good EVPs out of the corner where the fire happened. What other questions did I have you guys at? Did that about cover everything? Sacrilege. That's interesting. But I'll definitely be listening to the Red Spirit box, in the morning.